And now, coming to you from the nation's capital on WEBR, it's the Frantic Force with Norman Ball, Associate Political Editor of the Potomac Journal, and Leo Gerard, host of Leo Gerard's Point Taken.
Hi, I'm Mario Lopez. Everyone has a breaking point, especially when you're a teen. There's pressure to perform, to fit in, to stand out, which can lead to problems and stress. Well, I've got an answer. Call the Will Rogers Institute for a free booklet on teen stress at 1-877-957-7575. It's filled with good information on how to handle stress in your life. That's toll-free 1-877-957-7575. Call today before you reach your breaking point.
Welcome back to the Frantic Force with Norman Ball and Leo Gerard.
Watching our great leader as he posthumously awarded Navy SEAL Michael Monsoor a Medal of Honor a few months ago, I came away haunted by Bush's final words to the young man's parents, quote, "America owes you a debt that can never be repaid," unquote. As though the books aren't cooked enough, this so-called debt, denominated in steadily mounting American casualties, has so far eluded all sane attempts at calculation. How can America begin to repay a debt that it cannot first explain to itself? It would shame me to think I was besmirching Michael Monsoor's unassailable bravery. In fact, I am in awe at what he did. So much so that I can't help but decry the utter squandering of his noble attributes. I would only note that character of the nature displayed springs from a personal arsenal that is largely impervious to the contextual merits of its expression. Toss a brave man into an unmitigated disaster and you can be assured of one thing: he will conduct himself the only way his nature allows, with selfless courage and valor. This says nothing of the disaster or its architects, though I find the public tears an affront, if not a contrived front, that work only to cloud the chief architect's complicity. The better question is, how did a young man of such sterling character find himself in a war of such dubious merit? It's for the annals of valor now that by throwing himself on a hand grenade, this young man saved the lives of his comrades. But I feel we should be less celebratory of the sacrifice, as we are aghast at the senseless loss. We could have used a man like that in a long, productive life here at home, perhaps even as president. Thus the question is begged, why was such a man and those whose lives he saved even there in the first place? To call this an utterly needless tale of heroism does nothing to diminish the heroic act itself. At least I intend to proceed with that distinction firmly in mind. It's becoming my tired narcissist tract, but surely we didn't ransack an entire region so that Americans could display personal tales of unparalleled bravery. Or did we? Is this be all that you can be run amok at the cost of innumerable women and children who no longer are, so that we could more fully be? If so, then I have grossly underestimated the grip of our narcissist affliction. Bush said recently he envied the excitement and sense of romance our young people must feel fighting in this great cause. Romance. Beginning with Matthew Brady's Civil War photography and continuing through All Quiet on the Western Front, romance has been purged from the war lexicon of thoughtful human beings everywhere. Despite its complete discrediting in serious-minded circles, the romance of war lingered on for a while as a bankable Hollywood conceit. But even the movies had gotten hip to the beat by the late 70s with such bleak fare as The Deer Hunter and Apocalypse Now. That war is a pointless hell has become virtually pabulum in all quarters. So I cringe at the mindset echoed in the Bush persona that depicts, for example, John Wayne as a great American. Not content simply to be a swaggering thespian of such peacetime nonentities as Reap the Wild Wind and The Shepherd of the Hills, Wayne was a war propagandist, an on-camera Leni Riefenstahl. One could ask rhetorically by how many days the ludicrous vainglory of the Green Berets prolonged the Vietnam debacle, even coaxed additional young Americans to serve their country, perhaps to die. Hero? John Wayne had a makeup man His vocation, rooted in deception, the benign term is make-believe, called on him to wear ketchup-splattered costumes, the better to perpetuate the deadliest of spells. My best dime store psychoanalysis, worth exactly what you paid for it, is that Bush envies the World War II record of his highly decorated father, himself a brave young man by any reckoning. Consequently, he bears an existential burden of shame at his own failure to seize his romantic interlude in Vietnam, dare I say a case of impotence sulking in the generational shadow of omnipotence. Moreover, as chief decider, a rather impetuous self-image suggesting Junior in Dad's clothes, he has been permitted to indulge a dangerous vicariousness on the backs of our brave young men and women, who are cut, it seems, from a similar cloth to Bush Sr., if not, alas, from the same direct lineage. No matter how many bogus aircraft carrier landings are put on for this petulant prodigal son, the shame will never be erased. The debt will never be assuaged. This is not to say that there are not yet countless more brave young Americans oblivious to this Oedipal subtext, ready to perform in an heroic manner. It's a tautology. How else can they perform? But what a shameful misappropriation of youth and personal valor. And what about that dragged along realm beyond our shores, the world over there? Perennial rubber room to our ill-conceived adventures? Surely it tires of our forward march, damn the torpedoes mentality, not to mention our chronic tendency to mistake the sensible counsel of traditional friends and allies for incoming torpedoes. Speaking of the world, it is too often conducted by cowards, those who aspire to control and array others in the hopes of better safeguarding their own hides. Who else would want the leadership gig as a regular mainstay? There is no amount of brave blood that will quench them of their self-doubts. In the end, character, even of the substandard variety, cannot wash out. By a similar calculus, no cost, borne especially as it is by others, is too great to those who excel above all else at camouflaging their weaknesses. Bush never cured his early cowardice, he advanced it calamitously onto the world stage. Furthermore, he was far too much the coward to send others into retreat. His legendary intransigence was a facet of paralytic fear. The painful process of moving America forward can only begin when Bush is moved to the side. Certainly that is the very least that can be said for the recent election.
TheFranticForce.com is a WEBR production, broadcasting live and in the fresh out of beautiful Merrifield, Virginia. Continue the conversation with Norm and Leo at TheFranticForce.com. That's TheFranticForce.com. TheFranticForce.com.